Welcome to Culture Before Content. Culture Before Content, from Music for All and presented by Yamaha. And now, here's your host, David Duarte.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm David Duarte, your host, and whether you're joining live or catching a rebroadcast or listening on a replay, you are what brings this community to life. At Music for All and within the Culture Before Content community, our mission is to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music. And none of this happens without support, and we are incredibly grateful to Yamaha, who is our national presenting sponsor, for helping bring this mission to life. So just a quick reminder, we go live on Sundays, so if you're here, it's live, it's Sunday. I know you know, but I like to tell the people who are listening. But if you want to catch the show live, remember, you can always go to the Music for All Facebook page. And around Saturday, you're going to find out that there is a link. So you just have to go under the events tab, and you can also join the conversation there. And then you could use the Facebook page, the YouTube link on our show page, and you can watch it and you can comment. If anybody's there, please comment. We love those. So when you watch live, you can say hello, ask a question, share your thoughts with us. And technically, you can do that when you're listening to us. We're just not going to hear it. So after the live broadcast, audio only episodes are released every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other major platforms. So no matter what, for audio or video, you can find all of our episodes at musicforall.org/podcasts. So this week, we have an amazing guest, Dr. Heidi Welch. So we are extremely excited to have her. So Dr. Welch serves as the Director of Music Education at Vermont State University, Castleton, and was recognized as the 2013 New Hampshire Teacher of the Year, which is not in Vermont, but we're close. Beyond the accolades, she's a mentor, a leader who inspires both students and colleagues. This conversation will shine a light on her journey and the heart she brings to music education, and I know you're going to enjoy it. So please welcome to the show, Dr. Heidi Welch.
Hi, David.
We need Patrick, we need applause going in the background. I need my own laugh track and applause track. I think that would help.
Jazz hands.
Oh, super sparkly.
I'm so thrilled to be here, David. Thank you for having me.
Well, as always, why don't we take a moment and tell us a little bit, who's Dr. Heidi Welch?
Oh, I ask myself that every day. I'm a teacher. I'm a mom, and I live and love music ed. I love now teaching the next generation of teachers how to be great teachers. I love the joy that comes with teaching. This is now almost 30 years of teaching, and there's still nothing I can think of that I want to do with my life that would make me as fulfilled. It makes me whole.
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that. I was talking to students this last week because I actually had to work a full 5 days for the first time this whole school year. I finally got my full weekend. But I was just saying, I think education is one of the most amazing professions. And I always tell people, don't listen to the noise that's out there. It is a great career. And you're right. The longer I spend in it, the more I just want to do it. And I can't think of doing anything else but. And now that you're at Castleton, on the Castleton campus for Vermont State University, I mean, that is the dream, to talk to the future, shape things. And so maybe tell us a little bit about your journey. I'd love to hear about the New Hampshire Teacher of the Year, because as we were saying, Dr. Heidi Welch, that came with some accolades. Sorry, people. I learned some things before the show that I think that are just amazing. But maybe talk about a little bit about your impact and some of the things you've done in the past, and we'll take the show from there.
Sure. I'm a New Hampshire girl, born and raised. I still live here in New Hampshire. I make a 2-hour commute each way to the Vermont State University at Castleton campus. And I love that. It's a gorgeous drive every day. But I was raised here in New Hampshire, and I went to a very large high school, and I had the opportunity I was in the choirs, and junior year, the band director said, "Hey, do you want to learn how to play euphonium for marching season?" And I was like, okay. He said, come back in the fall of my junior year and for band camp, and let's go. And I was like, oh, my Lanta. I had no idea that one person would change my life so significantly. And David Bresnahan, shout out to you. we have produced some of the most incredible musicians from Manchester High School Central in Manchester, New Hampshire, including Colonel Jason Fettig. Shout out to Jason Fettig, who's now at Michigan, who was the conductor of the President's Zone. He was a junior when I was a senior. We have tons of music educators that came out of that program. I had no idea that one phrase, "Hey, learn euphonium, come back for band camp," would turn into my life. I faked it pretty good for a year. We had like 165, and I was just holding on by the seat of my pants. And we were doing Lincolnshire Posey, and we were doing every Granger you could imagine. We did Carmina Burana my junior year. It wasn't just like, "Hey, learn how to play this instrument, but take your time." It was like, whoa, deep end of the pond right away. And then I went to college to become an English teacher, and I was in the band for fun, and because I just loved to play. And the band director there, the amazing Douglas Nelson, retired. He was I went to his office one day. There was a trombone player sitting next to me, and he said, "Heidi, when are you going to just figure out you're going to be a music teacher?" And I said, "There is no way. I'm going to teach Chaucer and Beowulf and Shakespeare, and that's what I'm going to do." He said, "You're going to be a music teacher." And I was like, "You guys are crazy. There are far too many credits. You're in every ensemble. There's no way I'm going to do that." The next day, I went upstairs to Mr. Nelson's office, and I said, "Professor Nelson, I'm thinking about becoming a music education." I didn't even get the words out of my mouth. He was on the phone with the registrar's office saying, "Heidi Blish is now going to be a music ed major." And then now here we are. And that path gave me an incredible life, an incredible future that I'm so great and grateful for. It was a safe place for me. It was a very rough childhood growing up. So I found a home in the music department at Central. And then I found that home again in the music department at Little Keene State College in Keene, New Hampshire. And I then got out of there, taught elementary music and fifth grade band, and for a few years in the town that I was born in, Claremont, New Hampshire. And then 2.5 years later, there was a job opening in this little tiny town of 6,000 people and 2 stoplights. And I said, "I think I'm going to apply there." And everybody's like, "No, no, no, no. You're meant for elementary, Heidi. You're like, this is what you're built for." I said, "I don't know. There's something drawing me there." And so I took this job at Hillsborough during high school in the fall of 1998, and I stayed there for 20 glorious years. The only reason I ever left was because I had an incredible opportunity to finish my PhD as a result of being a New Hampshire Teacher of the Year in 2013. That Walden University provided everybody with another degree, and I already had my master's. So I decided to finish my PhD and I had built a program that I was incredibly proud of. I had the most incredible students at little tiny Hillsborough Daring High School in the middle of nowhere. We had on average between 350 and 500 students, depending, grades 9 through 12. And I always had the most incredible band and choral ensembles. It took some years to build it, but then it was amazing. And I always said you have to pull me out kicking and screaming from there on a gurney when I eventually would die. But then this opportunity arose, and I had a lot of student teachers from Keene State and field experience students coming into my classroom. And I started to realize after 20 years that this is the next generation. And I was seeing so many teachers that were so bitter and so angry and negative, and I said, this can't be. We've got to bring the joy back, and I want these kids to be inspired to do great things in the classroom and empower the next generation of kids to love music and want to be in music programs. So that's kind of where I felt my calling pulling me to the higher ed field and trying to encourage the next generation of teachers, because we need them, and we need them bad, David. Like you said, we're struggling to find people that want to become teachers. And I've seen it from being a Teacher of the Year. I was put into a space with 54 of the most incredible teachers you'd ever meet from every discipline, from art to math to STEM to computer science to world languages, and they all had incredible passion. And I just thought, I wish I could harness this energy. And then I realized, well, I'm just going to have to bring it in my own little Heidi way. So that's what I do. And I'm just me. Even though I'm at higher ed, I still have, somebody once told me I have a middle school energy. And I think that that's very, very true.
Well, you said something earlier that is resonating with me, and that's that, that one moment that somebody interjected something into your life created who you are today. And I was thinking, as you're leading the future music educators, that sometimes maybe we should start concentrating on this message that we are a series of moments. And I think I brought this up on previous episodes. But I mean, you think that moment changed you and your path forever. And so, I was in choir. So someone said, play euphonium. Next thing you know, you're learning euphonium. Hey, we need French horns. You started French horn. Next thing you're French horns. Hey, you should be a music ed major. Da, da, da. And so on and so on. And I think to myself, maybe we as the society of music teachers need to remember some of those, because how I think to myself, I know my series of moments. There are moments that have shaped my life forever. When an administrator says, hey, can you meet me in Starbucks for a time? And that moment just pops out of their mouth. And you're like, I need to take a chance on that moment, because it's the what if game. What if Dr. Heidi Welch had never been said, play euphonium? What if Dr. Heidi Welch had never learned the French horn? So and I'm thinking here, and like I said, we're going to get to our culture and all of our fun stuff. But, as you're doing, higher ed, I'm always fascinated with higher ed. I love talking to higher ed students. Like I said, as a former administrator, it's my thing. I can tell you, like, everything you did in college, you need all that information. But when you get to the classroom, here's what actually happens. You're going to go to the copy machine and you're not going to know how to print or scan or send it or do all of those things. And like, that's not taught. Oh, we're going to talk about that board here in a second. Sorry.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about that board.
Yeah. To our listeners that we got our pictures going.
You're so right about that, David, in that we also have a lot of people teaching at higher ed that spent very little time in an actual classroom. And so when I took on the position, I adjuncted at Keene for a bit while I was still in the classroom. And I try not to get too separated from the reality of the being in the trenches and those day to day. And I was the only music teacher. So I did chorus, band. Oh, there's my baby girl. Chorus, band, jazz band. For a bit, I did pep band. I did theory, guitar, you name it. I taught it because I was 9 through 12. And you become so flexible, and you have to learn to roll with the punches, as you will. Every year there's going to be a schedule change, or there's going to be something you're up against, or there's going to be competition with the sports team, because we're all fighting for the same kids in a very rural small school.
Yep.
And how do you approach those things professionally? And I teach now, again, still very rural Vermont. The college campus is right on the border of New York State, which is really great because I get a lot of New York students, and that's a whole other animal, learning their licensure process and all the things the New York teachers go through, which is different than Vermont teachers, which is different than New Hampshire teachers, and yet very similar in a lot of ways too. But really giving my students that knowledge, these things really happened. I can talk about the time that I had to fly a kid home from Disney World, or I can talk about the time, that I was just a bundle of tears because of this most amazing performance and the way that the kids had impacted each other. Like, there are so many great stories, and they know these are real, because I didn't just go into a classroom for two years and go, oh, I'm just going to get my master's, and oh, I'm going to get my doctorate, and now I'm going to be a college director. I really firmly believe that until you've done at least 7 to 10, that sounds like a prison sentence. It's not.
Yeah, I think I'm a repeat offender on that.
Unless you've done a good set. I mean, you don't even begin to know what you're doing until your 5th year. And then you feel like I'm kind of okay. And then something will happen and it changes, and you have to shift again. And until you've been at it for a little bit of time, it's hard to explain to new teachers what it's really going to be like.
Well, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was saying, you know what, the first thing you do on your first year of teaching, just teach. We'll take care of the details, and don't worry about the mistakes. I have to remember that I'm in a new position this year, and my brain is like constantly on that. Let that go. Don't concentrate on it. You'll fix it later. Not that it was okay that you know what I'm saying, but that's
Absolutely.
That's something that comes with age and experience. But those new teachers out there, it's like, I said, first year, just teach. Second year, just teach. Third year,
Yep.
just teach. And your fourth year, you'll start to find out all those things. You'll know this form, you'll know that thing, you'll know what to ask, when to send an email to whom, where, when. And you're right. I think it takes like 5 years. And I'm not saying that it's not a rule out there, listeners.
No.
It's not a rule that that's what it takes. It's just in general, we all find these same experiences. And you can kind of like, and here's my thing, year 10 becomes a whole different experience. Year 20 is a whole different experience.
Absolutely. And I on my office door, I have the phrase ancora imparo. I am always learning, because even almost 30 years later, I'm learning something new. Now I'm learning about AI and how to use technology even more in my classroom. And I'm always learning, because if you stop and you think you know everything, then you know nothing. So,
I have to say, we had a comment earlier. It said, wow. And it was Craig Gustafson, who happened to be episode 59. But him and I are going down the AI journey. And man, if he pops in a comment, I mean, he can firsthand explain that it's not about artwork and it's not about stealing things. It's about the ability to do more with less. And for me, in less time. Like, here's, I'm going to stop on one more tangent. I'm really good at tangents. But my first thing is, I will not send an email out without running it through AI first, because what I talk fast, I don't make sense to regular people, and I would like to do all of those things. But let's go ahead and start the journey, because I know you're excited. I know I'm excited. I saw the student shout outs because I was like, what is that thing? What is that? Well, and so like people that are listening, if you're not people, you just can still listen. I'm just throwing that out there. But for the people that are listening, we've got pictures going on. So remember, we got listeners. So I'll do my best to describe, or you can help describe. But let's start. You ready?
I am so ready, David.
Let's talk about that puzzle wall, because I know everybody loves those things that help. So let's start with the puzzle wall. Oh, Craig Gustafson popped in. Truth. He is Craig. The most amazing. He's my team teacher. He is the most amazing human being on the planet. And when I had him on the show, I had no idea I would be teaching with him. It's like fate. It's those moments.
Yep. So the puzzle. Okay. So this started years ago when I started at Hillsborough Deering. They had not had a full-time band director or a full-time music teacher at the high school. They'd had a plethora of part-time chorus teachers that would sometimes come in and do high school chorus like a couple of times a week. And then the middle school band director would come up and do high school band, and that was it. And then when that director left, and he had done the best he could with what he had, but again, schedules. So when they hired me on, they said, we want you to build a program. And this was, again, the fall of 98. And I had a band of about 25-ish and a chorus of 6 amazing girls that tried really hard, but we had to meet after school. And this was my third, a little bit more, because I started teaching before I graduated, like in that time period of before graduation. I had finished student teaching and I started teaching elementary right before then. So I had only been teaching for just over 3 years. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? So it took a few years. A few years go by and I'm like, we're growing. And I really was trying to think of a way to build culture. So for the first few years, I literally cut puzzle pieces this size myself because I couldn't afford to buy them. Eventually, I had a pretty decent budget, so I order these giant pieces from Oriental Trading. Shout out. And so what I would do is the first day of school, I tried this for the first time. I don't even remember, years and years and years ago. And the students had to put down their name. They had to put down their section, their instrument, and then they had to put what they were going to bring to the puzzle this year. And then we would very ceremoniously put them all up on the board. And that wall is one of those soundproof steel walls that divides you from the cafeteria, because that's my room was the stage / gym, a cafeteria. It wasn't a gym though. And so luckily when that wall was rebuilt, it became steel. So I could put magnets on the back. So they went up really easily. So they had two little magnets. They put them on the back of the puzzle piece and they all would put them up. It got to be tradition where like all of the tenors of the chorus would put theirs all together, and your best friends and your section would put theirs all together. And so they would start drawing into each other's, so they were more communal. But where it really got great was, so this is the entire department, because I was not just band, I was band and chorus, and I wanted them to really understand the value of department. And so if we were missing, like say a rehearsal wasn't going very well and we were missing a few parts, or somebody had taken off or wasn't there for a very legitimate reason in some cases, and we were struggling, I would say to one of my percussionists or something, hey, can you go grab a couple pieces off the wall? And I'd say, take a look. And the kids would look and they'd realize we had big holes. And I was like, now do you see the importance? Everybody has to pull their own. Like, you hate when you're doing a puzzle for real and you get to the end of the box and there's a piece missing. There's nothing you can do. You've got to fill in that piece. So we were so small, everybody had to have part independence. Everybody really had to pull their weight and make the puzzle whole. So it became a visual representation throughout the year. And even if we had all of the students there, I would sometimes go, hey, what did you say you were bringing to the puzzle this year? Did you say we were bringing, some would bring practice, dedication, some would bring bad jokes, some would bring patience, leadership, discipline. They were amazing. And that is my baby girl. I had the amazing ability to teach both my oldest daughter, who is my stepdaughter, Brianna, who is now a kindergarten teacher in Georgia. She was one of my oboists and vocalists. And my Katie was an incredible saxophone player. She now works at Disney. And she was a great vocalist as well. The last day, so everybody starts. So freshman year, and some of the kids would save them every year. And they would take them to college and then send me a picture saying, Welch, look, I've got all 4 of them hanging up in my dorm room. And that just brought me such joy. And the last day for the seniors, it became such another tradition. The students would take their puzzle piece off the wall and I would say something about what they had written. Then they would sit in front of my board and you can see a lot of writing around them. The students would go up while the senior was facing me. I would take their picture and the students would write them messages like about how much they loved them, what they enjoyed, what they remembered, a memory that they had, a moment. And then for the senior banquet, I would give them a copy of all of the things that were said because they didn't know what people had said about them. And so it was a piece of closure. So from the beginning of their freshman year, where they start with that nervous little puzzle piece of, I'm going to bring practice, to their senior piece that was leadership, dedication, work ethic, whatever it was. It just became such a part of who we were. And the puzzle piece, that they're also their senior year, I bought these little tiny puzzle piece charms. So, and I would bring all of the seniors into my office and I would say, okay, and this was kept top secret. So only when you were a senior, you knew. And I would give them all one very, very ceremoniously, if you will. And I say, you can put it on your keychain. You can put it on a necklace. You can put it anywhere you want, but you always have to be holding on to this. Why? Because now you are the role models. You are the ones that I expect to be the leaders of this department. And this is important. You are the most important pieces. You're my corner pieces of my puzzle. You are the outline. You're the ones that hold it all together for everybody else through the year. And it became a symbol of who we were. So it was and one year, oh my goodness, David, one year I was like, they probably think this is so cheesy. I'm not going to order them. So I didn't order them. And I was like, they probably won't say a word. Like the second day of school, the band kids are coming in going, wait a minute, the chorus didn't do puzzle pieces yesterday. Where are the puzzle pieces? I was like, I thought you guys thought they were cheesy. They're like, we have to do the puzzle pieces. So it just became, and that's how it was. So every year we started with the puzzle on the wall before rules. I never put rules on my wall, ever. Not once did I need to do that. Never had a no gum, never did any of that. We just had a mutual respect, and I never had any discipline problems in my room ever.
Yeah, and I think to the listener out there that's a new teacher, that's something that progresses because I always honestly said because I used before I became an administrator, I always thought that it was the same in everyone's classroom, and it took me on that journey of going through other classrooms to say, oh no, it's not. And so, like I said, that culture of and I think I got asked on an interview once, about classroom management, and I was just puzzled. I'm like, I don't have that. That doesn't exist in my, yeah, it was I was puzzled. Way to go, Dr. Welch. I appreciate that. And I have a couple of follow-up questions. Number one, what size were those puzzle pieces?
They were I think they're under Oriental training. I think they're extra large puzzle pieces. They're very big. They're like,
not that I was shopping while we were talking because I went to Oriental
and it's
Trading.com.
just paper. It's just paper pieces, but
I'm a believer of the ideas.
Forced reflection too, because then you could say, if you were having a rough rehearsal, hey, remember how you said that you were going to bring that? Are you all bringing what you said you were going to bring? And then they're like, oh yeah, this is important. This
so
means
here's
something.
I've got a hot take already for you. Are you ready?
Oh boy, I'm ready.
Here goes. Culture is the greatest gift teachers can leave behind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, like, I was thinking about these puzzle pieces because I saw Craig put up the post about loving the idea, and of course, I think anyone who sees this, I would highly recommend if you're listening to actually come to the video and find what you're seeing because I think it'll have a huge impact. I love getting these ideas. Was it something you came up with? Something you had seen?
I was just thinking, what can I do to really bring these kids together? And I'm like, what better metaphor than a puzzle? Like, it's really, and I didn't want them because I wasn't only teaching one discipline, the instrumental discipline. I was teaching choral and instrumental. I didn't want them to be, sometimes in some schools, they're very divided. It's chorus versus band. And no, we are a department, which means at concerts, you will sit respectfully and listen to the chorus. You will not run around like crazy people in the back, which never would have happened anyway. I would never have allowed that because they never would have done it because there was a built-in culture of respect that we are all in this together. And so I think that's very valuable in building department culture, in building ensemble culture that, well, guess what? Well, I am the best trumpet player in the band. Well, without the clarinet player, we're not a band. Like, so all of us contribute to this puzzle together. And I only play third clarinet. Well, if those third clarinets aren't there, we're losing like a bunch of our puzzle. So what? So they really start to realize how important everybody is, and they lift each other up in that way too.
Well, you said something super spectacular. What it is it gave the students the ownership of the things that they wrote. So what might start as a simple, not compliance. I don't want to use that word, but I just did. Oops. But I'm just saying what might start as something actually becomes heartfelt. And, how important is it that students take ownership of their words? And thinking about your college students, and to all the music ed professors out there, how it is so important to shape what we do. And I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I have to realize that my semantics get a little cloudy from time to time. And it was a pedagogy question. And I said it, I'm going to say it to you and see how you react to it, which is, I think our pedagogy is pretty well in place as music teachers. I think what we need to concentrate on more as teachers is the things that go around the pedagogy. Because I think that can almost have more of an impact. Dare I say, if you can't get the culture before the content won't have the same impact. And so that's why I said, I think what we do as teachers is important. And, do you kind of spread what kind of messages are you giving your future teachers in your classes?
I use the starfish, analogy a lot. That became my philosophy of education. When I was New Hampshire Teacher of the Year, I had to do a lot of speaking engagements. And thought about we all write our philosophy of ed, fresh when we're first year students in the, first year education, intro to music ed class or whatever they call it, where you are, and you write your paragraphs about, music is important for all learners, and all of that is lovely. But after 20, at that point, I think it was like 16 years, I said, really, it all comes down to this. And I saw this image of a starfish. I was in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and it was in the window. There was a whole like sea setting, and I thought, that's it, because I remembered the Lauren Isley story, which that now has been paraphrased many, many times, about the old man on the beach is throwing starfish into the ocean, and a little boy comes up and he's like, but there are millions, you can't save them all, and he picks up one, throws it in, and he said it makes a difference to that one. And I thought, that's what teaching is, because it made a difference to me. Hey, do you want to play euphonium? Okay, yeah, you're wait, what, me from that side of town that can't afford lunch, much less lessons? Sure. So I think of that all the time as teachers. It makes a difference to that one. It's all about those moments, and sometimes it's hard. Like we throw them back in time and time again. That kid just keeps coming and can't play a B flat in tune to save their life, but they love coming to band. So we're gonna keep working on it. We're gonna keep trying, and throwing them back into the water again and giving them that hope. And even on the days where sometimes you're like, Bobby, you've been absent 47 times. I do not have time to talk you down today. And then the next day you go home, you breathe. The next day you come back and you're like, oh, you're still here? Okay, we're going to throw you back in again. Okay, we got this. So I call my students my starfish throwers. And I've given this speech now at a lot of colleges. And I talk about how each one of them comes with, sometimes they're very different shaped. I've seen starfish actually like eat, and they eat in their centers. It's so cool. And some of them have shorter legs. Some are broken that you find on the beach. Some have been bedazzled and have different colors, but they're all still children in a way. They all have five or somewhat five 10 legs, 5 legs. And they all need that kind of push to keep them going. And so it kind of became that story of, we are the starfish throwers, and it makes a difference to every kid. So that being said, about how do you build that with how do you encourage your future teachers to take that on, is, well, it starts with you. It starts with you greeting them at the classroom door and not sitting at your desk and ignoring them when they're coming in. It comes with knowing their names. I'm so thankful. I can't remember who you had on. I think it was the last episode or the episode before that was talking about knowing names. And you said that you struggled with that. And I work very hard. I do a whole lesson with my intro to music ed students on the importance of their names. And we watch that Key and Peele video of, Jay Quellen, and you done messed up, Aaron. But the second video, a lot of people haven't seen, which is where he goes, Jay Quellen, and she goes, here, D nice, here. And so we talk about that, because a lot of our students also, like, some teachers would call me Wendy, and I'd be like, okay, whatever. No, my name is Heidi and your name is David, and that's important. You were named in a way that was very important, with a thought. There was thought that goes into your name, and whether it's pronounced, it could be David. I need to get that right every time. And so I always tell my students, and I think the guest you had on, I can't remember the name, and it's going to drive me crazy. It was last week. I tell my students, even if I have to, even if I'm like, oh, I know it starts with a D, help me out. Okay, David, I will try my best not to get that wrong again. And just finding ways. The name is the first connection for culture. I really think so. Purple shirt doesn't do it for me. Flute in the third row doesn't do it for me. And even when I'm guest conducting, only for like a day, I make sure they put those name cards on their stands, and I use their names often, so that when they're coming off the stage, and I'm high-fiving every kid coming off that stage and saying, you did a great job, Jonathan. You did a great job, David. I am so proud of you. Thank you for choosing. Thank you for taking the time. And I hope that I was worth your time today. And that's the other thing, is teachers building that level of culture and saying, because it's not about me. It's not about me. They're coming to you because they want to become music teachers or they want to learn something. I have a lot of non-majors in my classroom. Am I making my class worth their time?
Oh my goodness.
And especially as band and chorus, they don't have to come to your class. There's no reason for them. They in New Hampshire and I think in Vermont, they need 1 credit of the arts in 4 years of high school to graduate. They could choose drawing, they could use painting. They choose to come to band or chorus. So if you are going to be mean or cutting them down all the time or not building a culture that is worthy of them showing up, then why would they want to? And that's ridiculous. Like, it's like the pencil argument. Give them a gosh darn pencil. How hard is that? Well, they lose them all. Yes, they do, because they're kids, and kids are silly sometimes. But guess what? So I firmly believe it starts with the names, the acknowledgement, the positive feedback, calling them on their stuff. Because my kids, any of my students from high school or college will say, I have very high expectations. I do. Because I know you can meet them. And the first time those kids won a high level band award at a feel good festival, I wish I could bottle that energy because they never thought they could get there until I pushed them to get there. Because you're giving them the foundation and learning to get there. But if you're going, I'm going to show a movie today because we had a concert or we had a game yesterday. Every day is a moment for learning. It can be fun. It can be engaging, but give them a reason to show up. And if that reason to show up is because you're watching Finding Nemo, that's stupid because they can watch that at home because it is not 1984 and they have to pull the TV out and pop in the VHS or film strips of Mary Poppins. They can watch it on their phones for criminy sake. So give them something of value every day.
I did something. I have 2 shout outs, by the way. One shout out is to my Dr. Gail Galligan. I will tell her I said this, but she gave me a little bit. Speaking of starfish, for those of you that are younger, that I know the video you're speaking of, it was on shifting paradigms, and it was the whole thing about changing your paradigms with the starfish. And so my Gail brought to me on my desk one day. It was a picture. And I still have it and I love it. It's a little coin with a starfish on it that says, "You make a difference every day." And I stare at that thing all the time because it's sometimes in those dark moments that we all have in teaching. I look at that and I go, that is my calling. That is my purpose. So that's my huge shout out. I forgot my second shout out. So
the last day of the music ed class, that's what I do. I share my story and then about how music made a difference for me. And then I talk about the starfish story and then I give them all a starfish and I give them all the starfish poem and that they can have with them forever. And it makes a difference. Literally, it makes a difference.
And it was Jarrett Lippman. And I want to say that the next thing was like when I got to last week and I finally had to start to know names, I switched my software. I found another one. I can't remember. I think ANVI, maybe. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But I was able to go in and program the face, the name. And so I was able to quiz myself a little bit more. But I had to make the kids laugh because one kid, I'm like, I have never seen this kid. And then I realized I have, when you get the pictures, I have the 6th grade version of them. And here I am in their junior and senior year. I'm like, oh my gosh, you grew up so amazing. And I had to change my vernacular there. But I do want to go next to the poster wall that you have with the student shout out. So Patrick.
So this is a great community thing. I stole this. I don't know if I take such inspiration from the band directors group. It might've been in the band directors group page on Facebook, which if people aren't on that page, there's so much great sharing going on in so many ways. But we have so many great social media groups that you can look to. I think I got it from one of those. Might've been a general music teacher page. Anyway, so what we did was there are these shout out things. And for the concert in the concert program, I put these blank sheets in every concert program. And I also kept stacks. And I think it might have been our winter concert. That's my Kyle standing there. Hi, Kyle. And so parents, community members, fellow musicians, whatever, they could they would put like a shout out about, something that they loved about the concert or about their student. But then in the room, we also had them. So like, say Kyle was one of my amazing student conductors, student leaders, section leaders, a tenor, amazing vocalist. And so sometimes like somebody would say, Kyle, I'm just so thankful that you helped me get through that part of my music the other day when you worked on it with me in sectionals. So they would shout out each other, and I would just keep putting them up on that wall. You can see the puzzle pieces are at the end. And then
Yeah, I do see them.
I just started lining the walls, and the kids would come in and they would just look for, oh my gosh, somebody thought of me, like somebody shouted out me. And that kind of extended because I also used to give my students the SH award, which I made up these little like pieces of paper that was like, it was a triple P, like a pianissimo, so it was very under the radar. And I would attach like a candy bar or just a note that said, thank you so much for helping that student. Like I would really pay attention to what my kids were doing, either in rehearsals or just in general around school, but they were doing good deeds. But I wanted to keep it on the down low because some kids don't like that kind of attention. So I would take one of those awards and I would slip in a little note on it and put a little Hershey bar, and I would slide it into their folder, into the folder cubby or in their instrument locker or something like that. And they would come in and they'd be like, she noticed that I did that. Like you could have just picked up some pencils on the floor after rehearsal, or you could have helped, carry the instrument for somebody, or helped percussion, put things away. It could have been anything, but then I would just slip it in so that it wasn't a big deal. It was like, I am, she's noticing what I'm doing and it's making a difference. So those are meaningful. So much. So the shout outs were a big thing, and they're so easy to do. And they're so fun to see the kids looking for their names, and then you'd collect them all and give them to the student. And it's a visual, amazing piece as well.
Well, don't you think we as adults, I mean, I was thinking about this, even just when your principal just says to you, oh my gosh, I appreciate all that extra work. And I always say to the students, you never had to say any of that, but I so appreciate that you did, because it's kind of like the words, I'm sorry. I appreciate the words, and I need those words, kids. I need them. But
feedback is so important. And you can only give individual feedback so much in a rehearsal setting. You can, and you should, and I do. But there are the quiet moments that also deserve attention.
It goes back to those one moments can change a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. Sometimes it'll be 20 years before you find out the moment that you give. I know one student that called me out on something, and it was a moment, and then they were right. And then it changed my teaching forever. And it was just like how you pay attention to the different levels of groups. And it wasn't something I was doing purposely, but that was the version the student said. And I was about ready to say something to the student, and I just stopped. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. And I had to kind of backtrack, and that actually changed my pedagogy delivery, because it was, you're right. Everybody has scales. Everyone has, music review. Everyone has all these things that I expect, and I should expect that whether or not you're coming in 9th grade or you're leaving in 12th grade. Expectations. It's not about, again, it goes back to that competition we got into so much last week. It's not about the competition. It's about competition for self, not competition against others.
Right. But expectation without instruction is not a way to go either. And a lot of directors have a tendency sometimes to forget that first year student may not have had a lot of, they might have picked up, I don't know, a euphonium as a junior in high school. And be expected to be able to play everything within like a couple weeks, like a grade 6 level literature. And
so Lincolnshire has that great euphonium solo. I'm just got a few good euphonium solos.
Carmina Burana. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, to my sax players out there, to my sax players, we got about 7 or 8 notes total in that whole piece of music. Believe it or not, it does not. That part is not great for saxophone. I'm just throwing that out there. But my point is, the reason I ended up playing euphonium and marching band was because it rained one time and my saxophone got wet, and that was like the moment. It was like, it changed me forever. I'm just gonna play euphonium, and I learned to pick up euphonium. Who knew that would be probably the best thing I ever did for my music major, which I wasn't a music major at the time, but it was that moment that shaped it, and it wasn't anything that happened. It was just circumstantial. But I feel like we should collect moments from every guest. Like, what was a moment for you that changed your whole career?
Well, it's very much like that movie Inside Out. We have these jewels that can shape us for good or for bad. And we've all had those moments that hopefully have changed us for good, as we continue to adapt and change over. Again, when I think that I've been at this for almost 30 years, I can't fathom that. I still think I'm 25 some days figuring stuff out. Switching to higher ed. Now this is my 8th year and I still am learning. I'm still figuring things out and I still have to adapt and change. I can't say, I would never say some of the things that I said 20 years ago. I would never approach situations as I would have at, many years ago as well. I've learned patience. I've learned when to say no to things in a good way, like things that need to go. And I've learned what's important. And for me, some of the most important things are the things that seem most silly, like cultures and tradition, like Bandavis and Bandsgiving and the silly things we do that create tradition. Like, oh, there's the Bandavis tree. The morning of Bandavis, it was a Yankee swap, and there's a picture up there that you can't really see, some of you, if you're just doing audio, but the percussionists and anybody that got in early, because band was at 7 a.m., they would collect things from around the classroom. So every year it was different. Some years it was a sousaphone in the middle. And this year, and they'd pull out lights and weird stuff. I don't even want to know what's under that wrapping paper. And they would decorate it with whatever they could find. And that became the Bandavis tree. And then they would put a Yankee swap gift around it. And these were hilarious. Like, one year, a kid actually wrapped up a set of Beats and put Beats by Dre on it. And I mean, when I say a set of Beats, I mean Beats, the vegetable. I have a picture of that. Oh, it's amazing. And every year, somebody put a thing of toilet paper under there. And every year, somebody put a thing of beans. And the kids wanted the beans. They wanted the toilet paper because it became just a funny tradition. But Bandavis became, like, it was magical and it was just fun. And those things are what the kids, even now, 20 years later, for some of these students, I'll see them around town. Oh, that was Bandsgiving. I bought pie, and we had things on each table where the kids had to write down what they were thankful for within the department. And then they would share them out. They would give them to somebody else to read, and they would share them out. Things like that just became so meaningful. Those traditions and culture are the most important things I think you can have, because the music will come if the culture is there and the kids want to be there, and you're giving them quality literature to learn, and you're giving them the foundational instruction. The rest is going to happen. And if they know you are passionate and you love being there for them, and that you're not just doing it for the paycheck, they're going to show up every time.
I always tell people this, because I always say I am, Craig Gustafson, who's been posting today, he can vouch for this. You have to deal with me, because that's who I am. You don't get a choice. I don't even get the choice. But I always say this to teachers when I was talking. I'll be speaking to new teachers at Oregon State here in a few weeks, and the first thing I say is, if you don't have maternal instinct, rent. Find somebody that does. If you don't have culture instinct, like, I'm going to call Dr. Heidi Welch. By the way, I'm old. I don't call anymore. I'll just text. I'm terrible at calling, because then people want to talk. And then, so what I'm saying is, like, if you don't have the instinct, rent. Find somebody who does and use it to your advantage, because I know what my strengths and weaknesses are. I know that, like, trying to do some of those things. And I was thinking about traditions and culture, and, the difference between teacher-led and student-led, and getting the student buy buy-in. I'm rambling because I enjoy it. But I do. Sometimes if you don't have that and you're a teacher, find somebody who does. Find a student, find a parent. Now, or if you're
Watch
like me,
great teachers that do too. Get out into other classrooms of
oh my
other
gosh.
disciplines. Go see if like I tell my son all the time. My son is now a sophomore in the high school that I had the honor of teaching at for 20 years. I'm going to try not to get choked up. And one of my regrets now that he is a sophomore, I started teaching at Castleton when he was about 8. So I wasn't even thinking, oh, when he's in high school, I won't have him like I had the girls. And now I'm like, and the girls are still talk about some of the tradition, our daughters. And Noah is like, oh, I wish we had this. And I'm like, oh, but he's like, hey, he has all of these teachers that I consider my friends. We were all colleagues for many years, and now they're his teachers, and they knew him when he was born. And he's like, they're a really good teacher. I said, honey, a great rule of teaching is surround yourself by teachers that you have a great respect for, that have a great passion and love for what they're doing, because it will make you work harder. They were all there when I was teacher of the year, and they were all reasons that I was, because I looked to them. Shout outs to Sarah Paquette and Michelle Prentice, these English teachers that were some of my dearest friends. The Phil Swayze, oh my goodness, talk about a culture guy who's a phys ed teacher, but he built his own guitars. He was a luthier. He's incredible human. And kind. Like, these were great teachers with great passion who knew their craft and worked harder at it every day and were truly there because of the passion and love for it. So it doesn't have to just be music. You can learn from so many great people. But if you start to follow around with people that are negative, that say bad things about children all the time, and yeah, we all vent, we all have rough days, but if you notice it's part of their being, that's not a person that I need in my circle.
Nope, I've already told people, and you know who you are out there, that I need someone to vent to for whatever reason. It's not negative or positive. I just need a venting partner, because if I don't get it out, then I can't. I have to have it's kind of like my recovery. If I don't get it out, then I can't kind of process. And Scott Lang said it best. I have to think on the outside. I know I have to think on
I
the
have
outside.
never met Scott Lang, but man, I've read and used his work. I've read his books. Like, what a great mind, what a great human.
I will tell him this. So Scott, if you're listening, you've got a fan and you need to talk to this one. So I will text him gladly on this one. But I was just thinking, these you're talking about the Facebook groups, and I got popped into the Facebook group by the owners. They're like, you need to go in there and start posting. And then we all start posting. This is back, 10 years ago. And I'm like, I'm not posting anymore. And now I'm now use it for like kind of like therapy. I like to, put my opinions once in a while and practice framing it so that it's never in negative space. Cause that's really hard on there. It's really hard on there. Cause you're like, I'm not answering that one, because I'm doing, but
and somebody will just respond with marching machine as the answer anyway.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. But I've learned, oh my God, I found a set of Crotales at work. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway, I was just thinking, how does culture aid in a program that's setting from setbacks? Because as you said, you can't be the teacher on your campus. And I always tell people that traditions are for the people that are there, and traditions are changed all the time. It's not
all the time.
We didn't start in 1 million BC. We started, this tradition might have started 3 years ago, and now we own it. But you can create your own.
Sorry, Dave. I was just going to say, I have a picture in there somewhere about my spirit band, and this is a great example of that. When I first came to Castleton, they had a marching band, a regular marching band. The Castleton Athletic Bands, and they did a field show. And in Vermont, there is no. They were there's only 2 colleges in Vermont with a music education program, and there was only one that actually had a marching band. So it's not really a thing in rural Vermont. But then they had to do a lot of cuts. COVID came, and they said, we've got to cut every department by 10%. So they eliminated the marching band. And that the person that was also directing that then left for another job somewhere else. And so we were like, we need an outlet for those kids. And I am not lucky. my amazing colleague, Joshua Thompson, is the Wind Symphony director. And so I couldn't do that. So I was like, I'll take it on and I'll just do it as a spirit band. And they were like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yes. Are you kidding? We get to play rock band, pep tunes, and it's a small bunch." But man, that was hard because a lot of those kids lived for the marching band. And it was a small marching band, but man, they loved it. And it was a lot to change the culture to say, it's okay. We're going to keep this going. We're going to have a really good time. Trust me. Trust me. We're going to it's going to be fun. It's going to be different. It's not going to be the same, but we're still going to have so much fun together. And so this was actually this past Saturday. It's a smaller group. We're kind of still working out our look for hockey season. We have rugby shirts, but for football season, we just party. We wear school colors and we just crank out tunes and just have a great time. But changing that's been really hard because now I had to rebuild something. I had to build something again from something that was very, very different. And the kids were pretty negative and they didn't want to come along for the ride. And I lost a few because they were like, well, I don't want to just sit in the stands and play and do stuff. But I was like, it's going to be different. It's going to be better. So now we have our traditions here. Like during hockey season, all of my seniors I make them a fat head. Like I literally order them a fat head. And so we have a wall of fat heads on the hockey rink wall. We have a whole little hockey corner where we set up for all the hockey games. We blast those hockey games. It's amazing. And all of the seniors get a fat head. So they've left their legacy on the wall in there. So they're starting. So it takes a little bit, but we're you build a culture in ways that you can.
I'm going to call you culture warrior. That is who you are. You are like literally like dynamo of culture, which leads me to my next point. You ready for this scary thought? Yeah. But here's the thing. We've been going for 50. I just looked up. We've been going for 56 minutes.
No, we haven't.
We have. And again, I don't think we've started the podcast yet. So there are listeners out there. We've got to get to episode 2.
I'm so sorry. I love music ed
and my teaching partner just gave you a nice thank you out there. And it's true because now Craig and I can talk about this all day tomorrow because it's really exciting for me to find those gems out there of things because I really feel like we've talked about traditions, but we've never dived into the why, the how. But that's what podcasts are for, a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of knowledge. And as always, hey, I'm going to try that and see if that works for me. And if I'm a spaghetti warrior, I just throw things against the wall. If it sticks, I try it. But funny thing is, it can fall down a month later and it worked last month. But you know what? Right. We're going to move to.
I tell my students that all the time. I'm like, what happens today, especially with classroom management, what happens today might not work tomorrow, might work with a different class, might not work with another class. Like, you never know.
And that also reminds. Oh my gosh, I've got so much in my head going from this podcast, but we've got to go with.
We gotta go.
We don't have to go. I could stay all over. Everyone can listen for hours. Everyone loves listening.
I'd love to hear if people do contact you, David, about any ideas they have, or if they try something, or they're like, "Hey, how did she do that?" Please reach out to me.
We're gonna get to that reach out part, but I gotta go in my order. So listeners, we're kind of out of order today. It's been awesome chaos today. So I always like to leave the show. It used to be, tell me what culture means to you. That seems so sterile, and I'm not a sterile person. I'm kind of animated. I talk too much. It's great. I talk fast. Patrick knows. Sorry. I used to start. I laugh over people, which I've learned I got to stop laughing. Sorry, Patrick. But give us your final thought. It's actually truthfully, it should be your final thought. It could be culture. It could be something today, advice, anything. It could be anything that pops in your head. So, Dr. Heidi Welch,
I would say.
Go ahead. I'm turning it over to you.
I think my last thought, now that I'm in higher ed, is if we need to do as much as we can for the pre-K to 12 to encourage people to consider this as a field that is worthy of their presence. We need great teachers. We are losing teachers all the time, and we need teachers that want to stick with it, that will have a love and passion for it. So bringing them, please bring collegiate people in to talk to them, bring us into clinic. We miss being in the classroom so much. I will go to your room. I will hang out with you. I will Zoom in with you. I will just listen to your kids and say, hey, have you tried this? Like, bring us in and make connections so that they know it's not scary. College doesn't have to be scary. They don't have to go, oh, I don't think I can handle music majors in college. we are not scary people. But we need to do something. We need to bring flocks to the field, because it's going to get kind of scary out there if we don't start encouraging people that this is something that you should do or consider doing or would want to do, because we need great kids.
We do. And you're not kids anymore. You're going to be adults by that time.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to shout out too, because and then I'm going to end with number one, you are welcome to Zoom to my class. Because here's my thing. I have David Coons, who was on this podcast, Zooming to my class on Thursday, because he is the pedagogy master, and we're talking tomorrow, and I get to work with episode 59 every day. So that's kind of cool, but we're going to talk about this episode. But I'm saying, and I say, I hate to tell everyone, but I don't want to keep using this podcast as my own personal amazement. But I would love to have you back on the show. I would love to have you Zoom into my classroom and then have a chance to talk about what that meant and, things that we pick up, because, oh my gosh, you are a dynamo from the word go.
Anytime. We never even got into the teacher of the year stuff. So that would be a great.
I know. So now you have to come back, but let's talk about how to get a hold of you. Cause I might have to email you to let you know, hey, can you give me those puzzle pieces? Can you give me that link to orientaltradingagain.com? So anyway, go ahead and tell everyone your email.
So on the screen, it's hj01130@vsc.edu, or the easier version, Heidi, HEIDI.Welch @vermontstate.edu.
Oh, the pattern. I love the pattern.
Yes, we all have one.
Okay. Well, I am serious about having you back so we can actually have the podcast on the things we intend to talk about, because holy cow, you are a cultural dynamo. I love it. Well, thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, David. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you. Well, wasn't that amazing? I really am serious. I think I need to get to the end of this show, or the start of it. Who knows? But thank you for spending your day with us. As we wrap up, we'd love you to share this podcast on your social media. This one I think will be popular. When you do, it helps more teachers find their way into the conversation, and it continues to build that kind of community where we all can grow together. So remember, you can always reach me at david.duarte@me.com. And I did want to share, because I do have a website, davidduarte.org. And if you go to the tabs it's called the Instruction Hub, a lot of these things that I do and I want to share and I want to collect, I think I need to collect more of these things, but are there. And I would love you to. There's whole PLC things on there. There's standards, curriculum. Just go. You'll have a good time. And then you can find this episode along with many others at musicforall.org/podcast. So let's wrap this up. I want to thank Music for All for bringing this show to life. And thanks again to Yamaha, our national presenting sponsor, for making it all possible. But I'm David Duarte. Thank you for being a part of our culture today. And I look forward to seeing you next time.